This video, we're going to talk about setting up your custom domain in Membervault using Namecheap. So let's go ahead and get started with setting up your custom domain using Namecheap. So for step one, we're going to input what URL we want to use. So in the other video, I talked about what a subdomain is and what a root domain is, and that's going to be important as we go through this video. So right here, they have an example. They have courses.mydomain.com. Courses would be the subdomain. Mydomain.com would be the root domain. You could also have www.mydomain.com, and the www would be the subdomain. I'll be using the URL launchwithprecision.com for this video. I am going to put www.launchwithprecision.com. So notice you have to include the subdomain that you want to use. If I wanted to use courses.launchprecision.com, I would have to put courses here. And if I'm just going to use www, then I have to put www here. I can't leave it like this for step one. I can't just do that and then move on to step two. It's not going to work. You have to put the subdomain in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back, and then I'm going to click continue to step two. Now, if it works, then this information will no longer be grayed out, and it will give me this CNAME information down here that I need. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue to step two. All right, so it has accepted my URL, and now we are on to step two. So this is always where people get tripped up when it comes to setting up their custom domain. And it's confusing because sometimes you might need to copy this whole thing and sometimes you don't. With Namecheap, you don't have to do that. We have two fields here. We have a name field and a value field. And in Namecheap, we have a host field and a value field. The host field is where we're going to put this information. Then we'll put the value information that we have here in the value field in Namecheap. When you come over to Namecheap, then what you want to do is choose the URL that you're going to be using for Membervault, and you're going to click on Manage, and then you're going to click over here on Advanced DNS. You might already have a CNAME record here, and we could just go ahead and delete that. Okay, so I'm just going to click on this icon right here and then just choose to delete the record. We're going to add a new record. When we click on this, it's going to have all these different options, and we want the CNAME record. And then here are the two fields that we're going to be putting information in. So again, we have host field, which is called name in Membervault. And then we have the value field, which is also called value in Membervault. Now, depending on where your domain is hosted or where you bought your domain, these might be called different things. For step two, we are going to get the information that we need for the CNAME record in Namecheap. So for name, we are going to highlight all the way up to the subdomain, which is right here. Okay, my subdomain is www, but for instance, if I had courses.launchprecision.com, I would highlight all the way up to courses and then stop. I don't need to include this part. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and then I'm going to paste it into Namecheap. So we're going to paste what we copied over in Membervault that said name. We're going to paste that in the host field. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to paste it. Okay. So now we're going to go back and get the other information in the value field in Membervault and put it in the value field here in Namecheap. Now this time I'm going to copy all of this. I'm going to copy the entire thing. Now, one thing to note, don't include this period. When you do it for this part up here, you don't need to include the period. Just stop right here at www. That's all you need. Down here, it doesn't matter if you include the period or not, because Namecheap is going to add it whether you have that period there or not. So we're just going to go ahead and copy this. And then we're going to go over to Namecheap. And we're going to paste this in the value field. Once we have our information input, we are going to click on the green button and do Save Changes. Okay, so now we have added our first CNAME record for step 2. So now we need to wait a few minutes for it to actually propagate, and we can check to make sure if we did it right by clicking on the link that Membervault provides. So right here, they have this link that you can click just to make sure that we set up the CNAME record correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And right here, we have a green check mark, which means we did it correctly. It says DNS record published, and it even knows that this is with Namecheap. So we did set it up right, and now we just have to wait until it takes. Because if we look over here, it says, please allow at least 2 hours for it to be validated. It might take up to 24 hours for the validation. With Namecheap, I noticed that it takes maybe about 5 minutes or so. If you don't see that this has been updated within about 30 minutes, then I would question if there's something wrong, because it normally does not take that long. But give it up to at least 2 hours and maybe even a full 24 hours. And if it still doesn't work, then there's probably something that wasn't done correctly. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page to see if it worked. And if it did work, then it's going to move us on to step 3. All right, so now we are on step 3, and this is where we're going to add a second CNAME to Namecheap. Just like we did with the first one, where we only added all the way up until the subdomain, we're going to do the same thing in step 3. And so for the name, we're just going to highlight and copy the subdomain, and we're going to add that into the host field into Namecheap. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add our new record. We're going to choose CNAME record, and we're going to post the subdomain into the host field. Now we're going to go get the value and post it in the value field. Okay, so we're going to highlight and copy the entire thing for value. We're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it into the value field in Namecheap. So we've pasted that in Namecheap, and then click Save Changes right here where this little green check mark is. All right, so I've added both CNAME records, and now we just need to make sure that it gets validated over in Membervault. And just like in step 2, this is also going to take a few minutes. Like it says right here, it says please allow at least 2 hours for it to be validated, and it could take up to 24 hours. If still, I would say if it hasn't been updated within 30 to 45 minutes, that something might be wrong. Let's go ahead and refresh the page to see if it works. Okay, so we're still pending validation, so I'm going to give it about 5 minutes and then see if it updates. Another little tip is if you use that same link that was in step 2 to check to see if the DNS record was added correctly, you could still do the same thing with step 3. So what I did is I just put the entire URL that I'm going to be using in Membervault and then did CNAME lookup. And as you can see, it was able to pull up the value that we input in the second CNAME record. And so it is showing that it's published and that it's ready to go. So I know that it's just a matter of minutes before this will actually kick in. All right, so that only took about 3 to 5 minutes, and now we are on to step 4. So this is where we can go live with our URL. And all I have to do now is just click on this, and it says, are you sure you want to go live with it? I'm going to say okay. And it says we are activating your custom domain. All you have to do at this point is just wait, and then when we refresh this page, it will now show the new URL that you added. And so as you can see, it now has launchwithprecision.com, and it says you're live. And so if you for some reason want to change your custom domain and you want to use a different one, then you'll need to email them right here, and then they can reset your custom domain so you can start over with a new one. Now there is one other thing that you're going to want to do. So remember, we did www.launchwithprecision.com. We did not do HTTPS launchwithprecision.com. So this has the SSL certificate, meaning up here there's a little lock and it's showing that it is a secure website. If I were just to type in launchwithprecision.com without the subdomain, it's going to go to a blank page. And you want to make sure that no matter how somebody types in your web address, that it's going to lead to the right place. So we need to add a redirect in Namecheap so that it always points to this version right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a redirect, and I'm going to put launchwithprecision.com without the subdomain. And in the destination URL, I'm going to put HTTPS www.launchwithprecision.com, and I'm going to go ahead and save changes so that just in case if somebody types in the URL like this without the www, that it will still lead to this one, because this one is going to have the SSL certificate that Membervault has provided, and it's going to take them to the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save Changes, and then that's it. You should be good to go. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment so that I know. I would love to hear if you struggle with this and if this video helped you to get it set up correctly.